evening's meeting. It is time to call it to order, and I would like to ask Mr. Ron Graves if he would mind leading us in the invocation, and then I'd like to ask Mr. Maynard if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you tonight thanking you for a wonderful, beautiful day. Thanking you for your Holy Spirit, and thanking you for our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We pray that you bless us. We pray that you will lead this meeting tonight, and that the decisions that will be made will be for the good of the community and for the good of your kingdom. Bless each individual here and work in their lives and help us to be a town in unity and a group in unity working for the good. These things we ask in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you both, gentlemen. First, let's have the roll call, please.
Honorable Mayor Fowler,
Here.
Honorable Vice Mayor Norris, Honorable Councilman Bilbrey,
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins,
Here.
Honorable Councilman Hill.
Here.
I'd like the council to look at the agenda and the minutes of our last meeting. I think that we, at our work session yesterday, considered amending the agenda to add another ordinance that was not originally in our packet.
Ordinance 640-19 is an ordinance amending the All Goods zoning code and inserting provisions for short-term rental properties.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and add that item to the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those, or I guess Ms. Flatt, you can go ahead and call the roll.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Now, I'm hoping everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes of our last meeting. If there are any corrections or additions, if you'll let that be known. No additions, no corrections. I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here last month. Apologize for missing.
Okay. Now, on to old business. I don't know if there is any old business at present. We do have several items. Well, no, they are older. There's not any new business that I'm aware of. So we'll proceed to item number 3, which would be consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinances 633-19, 634-19, 635-19, 636-19, 637-19, 638-19, and 639-19. Okay. 639, 640, 640-19. Okay. Those are quite lengthy, but we could read them if necessary. But I think the council is aware of what those provisions are, and we're going to discuss them at length here in a minute. Do I have a motion to just suspend the reading of those ordinances?
I'll make a motion.
Second? I'll second it. Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes?
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
All right. The fourth item on the agenda is for public comment on ordinance 633-19. Before any ordinance is approved, there has to be a public comment allowed so that we can be informed, and you can as well. Ordinance, I'm looking for 633-19. I have mine all out of order because I've been looking at them. Okay. This is for a budget amendment for the 2018 to 20, no, I'm sorry, it would be, okay, 20, wouldn't it be this year? 18, 19, okay. That we are, by ordinance 628-18, amending the drug fund expenses by $25,000 and decreasing the drug fund balance by $25,000. What that is we're just moving money from one item to the other. I think we have a new vehicle, the Durango, and this is to cover the purchase of that, and so that would decrease the drug fund balance by $25,000. And we would have to authorize that change to that accounting. And this ordinance won't take effect until after the second and final reading. So if there are any, let's call this the public comment section. Is there any objection to this ordinance? No, not hearing any. Close the public hearing portion and proceed now if there's any discussion, or if not, if that's what we want to do, we need to go ahead and have a motion to do this.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Now, agenda item number 5 is to consider approval of first reading of ordinance 634-19 to adopt the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020. We have had, we've had work sessions where we have looked at the budget, tried to consider what we thought would be in the best interest of the city, And at this point, we do have a budget put together. Thank you to Mr. Morrison for his extraordinary work on getting the budget together. I think there are some good points about the budget, and I think there are some that, you know, we always have to make compromises on. But if you want to make any comments, Mr. Morrison, about the budget.
The fiscal year 1920 budget does include a tax increase from .4887 to .4407 per 100 on property tax rate. The general fund anticipated revenues are $3,146,813. The appropriation expenses are $3,047,934. That leaves a surplus in the general fund of $98,879 going back to general fund, which would leave our ending cash balance as of June 30th for that fiscal year at $5,604,942. State street aid would show revenues at $113,380 and shows appropriations at $113,380. Leaving an ending cash balance of $142,515. The drug fund has revenues of $30,015 with expenses at $30,015, leaving a drug fund balance June 30th at $26,878. Cemetery fund has revenues of $10,475 with expenses of $10,475, leaving a cash balance June 30th at $313,399. The water and sewer fund was showing a revenue of $1,950,963 when the expense of $2,177,343, leaving an ending cash balance June 30th of $1,700,225.
I think those numbers show that we are in a fiscally sound position, and that the property tax rate has been lowered by 10%. So we're happy that we're in a position that we can do that, and it would be .4407 per $100 of assessed value on real and personal property. Is there any discussion amongst the council about the budget?
In the budget, it references the Bear Creek Sewer Project at $1.27 million in debt. And
That's
so
correct.
We are paying, I just want to make sure I understand this. So we pay a principal payment in 2020 of $92,194, and then we're paying an interest payment of $26,433. Is that correct?
That's correct. The monthly payment for principal is $7,682.90. The interest payment is $2,202.80 for $9,884 roughly for a monthly payment. So the monthly payment's always the same. The principal goes up, interest goes down a little each month. So.
And so we have this upcoming water sewer expansion project at like 2.1.
This total project's $2.1 million. The cost we're going to be out of pocket is $210,000, leaving a $1.89 million rural development loan that we'll have to pay for that project.
Okay. So the interest payment would be about the same for that loan.
It's probably going to be close. Well, rural development's going to give us a deal on interest just because of the low interest loan to them. But yeah, we'll have two payments.
And that's kind of where I'm going. Do we have any interest in paying for some of this? I mean, since we do have a balance, is there any interest in paying for our projects instead of financing them?
I don't know that you want to deplete the fund. We paid off a project a few years ago and got rid of one. Now, if the cash balance goes up on our bank account, we could look at paying the lower one off at some point and get rid of one as it goes down. So we could look at that as we move forward. Also, one of the reasons for the sewer increase on our rates was to help pay for this, as well as additional needs in the sewer system.
And that's why we're seeing a negative number on the water and sewer fund, is that right?
It is. The water and sewer fund was positive last year. A year before that was in the negative. It's one of those funds
It's a big
that you
negative.
have to keep up with. So the negatives aren't as bad as they look because you have to figure in capital purchases and things of that nature.
Gotcha.
Last year we were 40,000 to the positive. The year before that we were only 10,000 to the negative.
Okay.
And as it's been explained to us, we don't want to ever be in the negative in those columns, correct?
Not a good place to be. If you're in the negative for 2 years in a row, the state will come in and see what you're doing if you're trying to improve it. If you're not making improvements, they'll give you a rate. If that doesn't work, they're eventually going to take the system over and run it themselves. So water and sewer do have to self-support. Now, one thing that we'll note again when we talk about the water and sewer rate increase, Cookeville increased their water rate. They did not increase the wholesale sewer rate currently. We went ahead and increased our sewer rate because it's 125% of the water bill, as well as the fact that we need to do some improvements on some pump stations and lines that are starting to allow stormwater to go in them, and that costs us more money if we don't keep those lines up because we have to pay for that water per 1,000 gallons that goes to Cookeville. So even if it's rainwater, we're paying for it.
Thank you.
Well, one brief comment that I would have about the budget is I think it's a good budget. I think that we've tried to do the best by our citizens. I do have a problem though with some of the salaries that we have increased. I don't have a problem with, we have a step system in place here. After so many years or so many items that you can check off the list, and you qualify for a step increase. And everyone, it's my understanding, that's not getting a step increase, they're going to get a 1.5% cost of living increase. The only thing that bothers me about this is that we're giving a 10% raise to the administrative staff. And I respect everybody who does their work here, and I anticipate that supervisory work is maybe a little more technical or complex. However, for everyone else to receive a 1.5 and then some others receive a 10%, I do have a problem with that. However, I do think the budget overall takes care of our city in a sound way, but I did want the public to know that I do disagree with the amounts that were budgeted for administrative level personnel. But having said that, that was my only objection to the budget as it's presented.
Well, now, I don't think it's right for so many to get 10% and others get 1.5. I think it ought to be straight across the table.
Okay. Anybody else want to give
move
out their
we-
opinion?
I move we go give them all 10% across the board and implement the evaluation programs.
Yes, it's my understanding we have not had evaluation programs, but you worked for the state at one time.
Correct.
Did you ever receive a 10% raise?
No,
Okay. I don't,
but it was fair evaluation, and your raise was with your evaluation.
but we have no evaluation to go by, so we're just starting off saying, okay, 10%, then we'll evaluate later. I mean,
If we
how
need-
do you justify, I guess is what I'm saying, the 10%?
I mean, here's how I look at it, is that, before tonight, I didn't know we were considering anybody outside of the Keith, Victor, Dale, and Ann. So, you look at salary surveys, and you try to determine what similarly situated municipalities and say, okay, what do those folks have? And is it a 10% raise, or is it just kind of a renegotiation of the compensation? I don't know, call it what you want. But I think we need to be in line with what other municipalities do. I think you're looking at the same thing I kind of looked at as well. So, I mean, is 10% the right number? I think is the question I have. And based upon other municipalities, I think the folks that are serving in these positions are close. I think they could stand to have an increase. But 10%, you are most certainly right. 10% is a big jump. Maybe look at 5 and 5. We've got the leeway, I understand
Right.
it, to get creative with this. I like our team. I want to incentivize our team to stay here. I
Absolutely.
think that the stableness of what we've got now. I mean, let's keep this stableness together for as long as we can. Let's keep the band
Sure.
together.
Yes.
And if we can leverage these increases to keep the band together, I think we all benefit from that. So
Oh,
that's.
I agree. I just
I'll get off my
disagreed with
soapbox.
with the 10%. And I just checked with Cookeville just to make sure, but even their, city manager, they have a $128 million budget, and they have 425 employees. And they have only given a 3% raise. So, and of course, that's apples and oranges considering Cookeville versus Allgood. But when you look at the salaries, they're quite out of line. And I don't know if we've had an MTAS review of cities our size. And
I reviewed MTS review, and if you give a 10% across the board, it would bring 3 of them up close. One of them, it didn't bring her up close. Of cities this size.
Yeah, I asked for that same report, and I thought
Yeah.
that's what you were looking at. The
No.
MTS, that's the only thing I think I can kind of come up with as to what we could use as a salary survey. And you look at other similarly situated municipalities, I mean, some of the bigger cities, I think you can just
Yeah,
take them
you
out. I mean,
can't.
gosh, they've got some in here like.
Gatlinburg, places like that.
Yeah. That's
yeah,
not.
You can't consider those. I
No.
mean, Brentwood,
no,
173, I mean,
Yeah,
holy cow. But you look at some of these others, just going through them real quick. Fairview, Tennessee, don't even know where Fairview is, but their 7,000, their range goes from 70,000 to 102. Eagleville has only 600 people, and it has they're paying their city manager, according to MTAS, 67,000. Kingston, 5,900 people, they're paying 84. And these are just anecdotal. I get it. But at the same time, if we want to keep our city manager put, these are the cities that we have to compete with, because when those openings come up, we're at risk of losing the employees that we want to keep. So, I mean, again, anecdotal, but thought it's worth sharing.
Well, if we decided to change the budget, or I think Mr. Morrison's got time to do that, correct? And get in everything we want to get in on time?
I can, yes.
With the budget though line item, you put in here, if I understand it right, that you put the 10 in for 4, and then the others you didn't give the 1.5. You gave some did and some didn't. Walk me through that.
Most of the employees got a step raise based on the
That's the
step
step,
scale.
okay.
The only 3 that are not on the step scale are myself, Victor, and Dale. We are all 3 salaried positions. At the April work session, I was directed by council to put 10% in for myself, for Dale, for Victor, and for Ann. And so that was what I did, and that was how I put this together. So
At that session, either I missed that or I had to leave early. I never agreed to the 10%. I think I heard Mr. Bilbrey say that 10% was okay with him.
That's correct.
I don't know about Ms. Hawkins or Mr. Hill. I think she's indicated that she's not okay with 10%, and I think Mr. Hill is trying to maybe strike a
I think I'm there
a
at 10%.
balance at 5. You suggested a 5.
We can, what I'm saying is we can get creative. You know, maybe if there's 10,
Such
if
a-
10 is a problem, maybe 5 and 5, and we get there, you know, slower than just one fell swoop. But again, I you know, up until this moment, you know, we weren't talking about anyone outside of these 4. I still think the evaluation is needed to be able to give Keith and Dale and Victor the ability to, you know, go through that evaluation process. I think it's good. And,
Me too.
and so
And I don't know why it hasn't been happening before now. But,
who knows? But you know, correct it and move forward.
so when you're saying 5 and 5, do you mean 5% this year and perhaps after the evaluations, 5% next year, or, you know, gradually influence or put this in?
That's off the top of my head, just kind of as I'm sitting here thinking. It's
A compromise.
Again, something in between. But the budget, again, the budget contemplates the 10%, right?
It
It
does.
Yes.
doesn't necessarily mandate that we're going to spend these monies. These are just budgetary numbers that we're. Is it or is it automatic? I don't know.
I thought it
Typically,
was
when you pass
automatic.
the budget, I put
Yeah.
in the number that's included in the
Yes.
budget.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and another thing, I think when you look at the budget with how everything is lumped together, like salaries for each department, you know, they're not itemized out. So at least I didn't receive anything that said this employee makes this employee makes that. I didn't ask for that. But when I got these numbers, I just saw them today with those 4, you know, singled out. It was just shocking to me at the 10%.
The itemized list of payroll has actually been sent out twice now, so.
I did receive it.
I'll say I received it, but man, we get a lot of emails.
Yeah.
Keith gets credit for communicating. He communicates well.
So it boils down to, do we want to accept this budget as it is, or do we need to make some changes?
I make a motion, we accept it as is.
You mean for them to get 1.5%?
But is that, that's with the steps, so,
With the steps, yeah.
so it's 10 for them
Mm-hmm.
and steps, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that motion failed for lack of second. So I make a motion that we approve the budget as proposed, with the exception that the administrative raises would only be 5% this year. Is there a second?
And then a second, can I ask a question? And then a second, then the second, or excuse me, and then 5, the second year, is that what you mean by that motion?
Oh,
Or-
I can
Please.
word it that way if you want to.
Okay, I just
Okay.
we didn't address the second year part.
Is that for all of them to get 5%?
For these 4 that are listed.
And then steps on top.
But
They
you-
don't, they're not in a
Well,
step
I'm
system,
talking-
yeah.
I'm talking everybody else.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't affect anybody else, it's just gonna affect the administrative staff.
That's still not right for the others to get 1.5% and some get 5%.
So are we, just, well, I wanna make sure I'm clear. It's, when you're saying the step for everybody else, is that the 1.5%?
No,
Okay, that's, so the 1.5% is
like, if you're,
cost of living?
if I understand.
1.5% cost of living is for employees who've topped out on the scale. Everybody else fits in the scale and gets a stepped raise according to the
It's
scale.
where they are in the step.
Correct.
process. Mhm.
process. And what's your average rate, average dollarly figure for a step?
After 5 years, they typically get $1 an hour. Anything before 5 years, they get so many cents on the hour based on the year they're here. The more years of service, the more the raise is.
Mr. Hill, would you like me to rephrase my motion?
Oh, you most certainly can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
I would move that we accept the budget as proposed with the amendment that the administrative staff will receive a 5% increase in this budget, July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, and that that also be considered for the next year, budget year. That would be 2020 to 2021. That way they're getting their 5% this year, 5% next year.
So they get 10%, just not this year,
Right,
next year, and then everyone else gets the step,
or
oh,
a cost of living, or
cost of
what,
living if they've
they've
maxed
met
out.
the step, if they've topped out at that step, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I would say that's a pretty nice middle ground, but I do have a little consternation as to exactly what she said. You know, is that equitable? But then again, I hate to say, what is that our role to be looking beyond the directors? I don't know.
Well, I think anything involving the city
Yeah.
is our responsibility, and especially when it comes to monetary items. I mean, we have
I
these
agree,
people
I
in
agree.
place because we trust them.
Right.
And anytime we don't, we're at liberty to discontinue that. I don't know how we can settle the issue between the 1.5 and the 5.
You're trying to think the same thing.
Can we do a special call meeting?
You
We need
can.
to.
If you're going to worry about 5% across the board, then I think we need to look at redoing the scale, and everybody should be getting the same dollar amount based on years of service. Because some of them are getting 15, some get 25, some get 50 cents, and then after so long, they get $1 an hour. So an employee that's making $16, $17 an hour is getting a whole dollar, so that's a little bit more than 5%. So.
Well, in order to let us study it further, discuss it, we could have a special called meeting, so I can then, I'll just withdraw my motion.
My issue is I just didn't. I'm not prepared to talk about the a non-4, so I'm a
Right.
little hesitant to make any kind of substantive action that's going to, without having more study on it. Just a little bit more time to make sure that the right move is made. So what would be the downside to accepting the budget as is, pending, but not put it in place, put the raises in place? So leave the monies with the contemplated increase, but not implement the increase in the salaries until, or pending further study. Can you do that? I see.
Not really.
So it's, once you approve the budget, it goes into place. Is that right?
And they amend it between first and second reading.
You can amend the budget between first and second reading.
Maybe that's the best route here. Approve it as is, pending, and then have a second special called in between now and the next one to talk about what our salary structure is. And then if there
Okay.
is an outcome,
Okay with me?
Legally.
amend it at that point in time. That doesn't do anything to you from turning in the budget?
If you start making a lot of changes, I'm gonna have to rework all my paperwork, and you know how many Excel sheets I have, but I can do it.
If you make substantial changes, you can't change it between first and second reading, but if this is the only issue that you're addressing, salaries, then you can, that's a change that's within your authority to make between first and second reading, because it doesn't substantially affect the overall budget of the city.
Did you have any additional changes, I guess would be the question.
What percentage, I guess, if we did that, would we be affecting the budget if we
Change
just
all the salaries.
confined ourselves to looking at the salaries?
Depends on what percentage you look at. If you talk about 10% of the police department budget, you're talking $65,000. So,
Okay.
but some of that's
But-
already included, so it may not be as substantial as 65,000 because some of the raises are already in there. So if I go back to the original salary they're at now, change them all to 10%, then, you know, it just depends on what raises some of them got and some didn't. But I'm gonna have to have a number to be able to calculate some of these for you and tell you where we're at.
There's no hard line percentage that's the rule, but I certainly think if it's less than 10% of the overall budget, that you're well within the safe range, and I think you would be, because salaries
that's
isn't
what
the
I'm
only
asking.
line item,
Right,
yes, so you
okay.
should be fine.
Sounds positive.
Gives time to study it.
So then we could make a motion to approve the budget as it is and call, I don't know if we want to say that we reserve the issue of salaries.
I think the better thing to do would be call a special called meeting between now and the 1st of June and hold a special meeting to do a first reading of the budget and make any changes then you want to make instead of trying to approve it and then make a bunch of changes.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
So we
Then
just
we
table
just
it.
table this item. I guess if we need to make that formally, I guess I would make a motion to table it until further study can be done on the salaries issue.
You want to go ahead and set a meeting date tonight?
Yes, please.
You can go ahead and get a second on the table if you want to.
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor say, or I guess I'll let Ms. call the roll.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry.
Yes,
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
All right, our next scheduled meeting would be, I think it's June the 10th. Is that right?
June 10th will be work session, June
Oh, I'm
11th will be
sorry.
a council meeting.
Right, okay. So I don't know, has everybody got their calendars and we can kind of pick a day?
May the 28th, you have probably a BZA and a council meeting that night, so, or BZA and planning, I'm sorry. Hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do we have,
Wait,
will we have time to do it on
I could do.
May the 30th?
How many days gonna have between
1 week apart,
for
an
ordinance?
for an ordinance, 1 week apart.
1 week apart minimum.
So May the 30th is satisfactory.
It's a good
within
day.
the rule. Is it
Okay.
convenient for you?
Is that convenient for you guys?
There you go.
Miss Ruby?
At 6 o'clock.
Yes, I guess we can say
Whatever
anytime
time
we
you
want,
want.
but,
Special call,
Is
if
it
you want it
two?
at 5, you can do it
Let's
at
do
6. 5?
or 5:30, Mr. Hill? 5:15?
It's all about compromise.
Yeah.
Which one are we doing?
We're doing 5. Is that okay with everybody? 5? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. May
We will
30th.
advertise it too and put it online.
All right, so we're in agreement then. We have a special called meeting on May the 30th at 5 p.m. Okay. All right. I think that effectively tables the budget ordinance. All right. Now, I think the fun stuff. Approval on first reading of ordinance 635-19 to amend the Allgood zoning code pertaining to planned residential developments. So, Mr. Morrison, I'll let you go ahead and explain.
A month or two ago, we took planned residential developments out of all districts. They were a conditional use in a bunch of districts. We have pulled it out. Planning Commission has reviewed it. They reviewed the removal as well as this new zone that will be created. So there will be a new zone in Allgood that's considered a planned residential district, PRD. Planned residential district is apartment or townhouse complex, condominium, or other spatial housing development where two or more housing units are grouped together in two or more buildings, are either sold or rented, with or without accessory structures, providing recreational, cultural, or other activities for residents therein. PRD is intended to encourage flexibility and innovation in land use and residential developments. So these are all guidelines for the PRD to be its own zone. They were based off of Cookeville to some extent. The Planning Commission has also went through these. The only substantial change, really, other than making these fit our current zoning, is that the minimum area requirements is that no property will be considered for PRD shall be less than 3 acres in size. So it must be a 3-acre property or larger to be even considered for PRD. And this sets all the minimum yard requirements, spacing, what has to be around them, and things of that nature. So this is creating a zone for planned residential developments.
Do we have any right now? I mean, anything similar?
We do have PRD right now. One is on Phillips Cemetery Road up behind Church on the Hill. It's
That's right.
Cypress Ridge. It's single lot line, 0 lot line, condominium style. The other one is the townhomes on the corner of Cooper and Dry Valley. That was PRD for 0 lot line. And I wanted to think there was one more, but I can't remember where it's at right offhand. All the PRDs that are currently were conditional uses and are already used. So there would be no current PRD zone at this moment, just because those that were there were conditional uses in a current zoning. So this is going to be its own zone, so it would require rezoning and a 3-acre minimum lot size. The most recent one, I think, was the McCauley, and it was going to be PRD, the townhome or condo or duplex, 0 lot line duplexes. I'll get it right in a minute.
Under the old rules, Councilman Hill, the someone who wanted to develop a PRD within several of the districts, it was basically automatic. If they checked all the boxes, the Board of Zoning Appeals really had no choice but to approve that. Now, under this new paradigm, which is, as Keith said, similar to Cookeville, the property would have to be rezoned. So it would have to go through the Planning Commission and the Council before it could be rezoned. In addition, it creates the benefit because it gives the Planning Commission and then eventually the Council the opportunity to impose conditions and other things like that to ensure that the growth is controlled and responsible and promotes growth within the city in that fashion.
Thank you. And this has gone through planning?
Yes.
came from-
April 22nd with a positive recommendation
With positive recommendation.
from Kevin.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly think it's a good thing that we need, I'm not against growth, but it does need to be controlled and orderly and in a fashion that suits our city and our municipality. So I have no problem in making a motion that we approve ordinance 635-19.
I second it.
Ms. Black?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. I think the next item on the agenda would be number 6. That is to consider approval of ordinance 635-19 to amend the Allgood zoning code pertaining to planned no, that's just what we did. Okay, number 7 would be consider approval of first reading of ordinance 63619 to amend the Allgood zoning code pertaining to lot sizes in the R1 district. So again, that's 636-19. This one, I think Mr. Morrison is to create a, that they recommended, the Planning Commission did, regarding an R1 district. Is that correct?
This was changing the single-family structure lot size from 12,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet, and it did come with a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Blatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Number 8 is also to approve or consider approval of ordinance 637-19, which is also to amend the Allgood zoning code pertaining to uses in the R2 district.
This zoning code amendment removes duplex uses from the R2 district. It only leaves single-family structure on a 10,000 square foot lot.
Again, all these went through planning, correct? All-
Yes, April 22nd, positive recommendation.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I
Okay.
make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Ms. Blatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's time for consideration of approval of ordinance 638-19. And that is to amend the Allgood zoning code pertaining to uses in the RD district. And again, this was recommended to us by the Planning Commission. Mr. Morrison, if you want to explain what we're doing here.
Some changes here with the RD district are some changes in language to add that townhomes and condominiums are allowed in the RD district as well as duplexes. It does maintain that a duplex structure, one single structure, must have 18,000 square feet for a lot with a maximum of 2 per lot, regardless of whether it exceeds 36,000 square feet or not. You would only be allowed 2 duplexes, which is 4 units. It does still allow for single family structures to be 6,000 square foot lots on public sewer. But there are some development standards here for duplex. There are no currently unused RD districts in the city, so if they wanted to do RD or have duplexes, they would have to request a rezoning to get to RD. The RDs that are in existence have something on them currently.
Any needed discussion?
So say that one more time. All RD is already occupied, but are they all occupied with duplexes or multifamily dwellings? Are there any that are zoned kind of?
I think right now the RDs that we've got have duplexes on them. I think the only thing that we have with some single family homes on the smaller lots was rezoned R3. I don't know that we have any RD that fits that standard at the moment. The Cooper Square development was RD, but it's all duplexes. But they are not 0 lot lines, so you cannot sell an individual unit. You have to sell the whole duplex. And I'm not sure, I'd have to look again, but I think that may be, there's only a couple RD here, and they're all used up at the moment.
Thank you.
Without any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 638-19.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Blatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. The next item would be for ordinance 639-19, concerning the setting of the new water and sewer rates. And Mr. Morrison's done extensive research on that, and so I will gladly let him explain that. But basically, he can explain perhaps the finer points, but basically, the city of Cookeville has increased their water rates. We buy our water from Cookeville, and so we must then, in order not to have a deficit, we have to pass on that rate increase to our customers. That's basically it, isn't it, Mr. Morrison?
That's pretty much it. What has happened is Cookeville is increasing their wholesale water rate. They've increased their water rate on their customers. Our sewer rate is based on our water rate, so when our water rate goes up, our sewer goes up too. Cookeville increased their water wholesale rate by 9% for next year, and then the 2 years after that, it increases 9.2% each year. In the fourth year, Cookeville is increasing their wholesale water rate by 4.9%, and in the fifth year, 3.7%. So we have looked at those rates. Currently, if you go back and do an average of our audit years back to 2014, our total operating revenue has increased by an average of 3.2%, but our total operating expenses have increased by 5.1%. So we're experiencing increases in expenses and not enough increase in revenue to offset that, which is not a good change. So we have looked at the increase on the wholesale water from Cookeville and added percentages to it, as well as our sewer, because we know we have additional sewer projects we're going to have to deal with, the debt we're taking on now, some infrastructure needs. So we're going to go ahead and pass on the sewer increase at the same time, because the two go hand in hand. For the first 3 years, for 19, 20, and 21, we are increasing rates 12%. For year 4, we're only going to increase 8%. For year 5, we're going to increase 7%. So we've tried not to increase these, bless you, by an extensive amount, but we did try to increase it enough to help us stay in the positive, also including that we have some additional infrastructure needs as well. As we move forward, if infrastructure needs, if we find out there's something else, we may have to review these again, but we think this is a pretty good start, and this is a fair adjustment without overcharging our customers. Again, utility fund is an enterprise fund, so it is a ratepayer fund. It must be paid by the ratepayers. It cannot be subsidized by general fund. The money cannot be pulled out of utility fund and go to general fund. It must stay in the utility fund. It must fund itself. It must also fund depreciation. So any project we take on in the water sewer has to have an accumulated depreciation over the years, and we have to account for that too with revenues, and that's the only way to operate the system. So this is our balance to do that. And so, like I say, we've increased rates 12% the first 3 years, 8% the fourth year, and 7% the fifth year. And those rates are laid out in a dollar amount per year on the ordinance that we've put out, and is also available online.
So what you're saying is the rates are going up, we have no choice.
Yeah, no choice.
No, we have to at least increase 9%.
We have to
just
increase at the same.
Just to break even.
and that wouldn't even break even. We're still going to be 2% in the hole based on our average running
Understood.
expenses. So we're not gaining a whole lot. We're just trying to get out of the hole right now. And just for example, an $891 minimum bill right now, July 1st will go to $998 for the minimum bill. That'd be an example of where we're going to. So it's not a huge increase, but it is a little bit.
Less than $1. Yeah.
It's $1.07 increase.
Any more discussion? Okay. It almost seems like we have no choice, but I will make a motion that we go ahead and approve on first reading ordinance 639-19, setting the new water and sewer rates.
I'll second.
Ms. Blatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 11, consider approval of CRI for the fiscal year 18 to 19 audit. I think this is the company that we have used for the last 2 years, is it not, Mr. Morrison?
It is, yes.
And they have worked well with us, and we are satisfied with their services. Is that also?
Yes, we're good with it, and we have a bid amount through this fiscal year, so we're good on the bidding with them at this point. And we also make note that we do have to have an audit contract filed with the state prior to June 30th, so I do need to get this completed and get it turned in.
Okay.
I'll move.
Mr. Hill makes a motion that we approve that.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Platt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Number 12. We consider approval to award the 2019 side-by-side bid to someone and in the amount of something. What we have here is we had bids turned in for the side-by-side, and we had 3 bids. One from Tommy's Motorsports in Crossville, one from Tri-Green Equipment in Cookeville, and Midstate Motorsports. I can't remember where they're from.
Cookville.
Cookeville, okay. They all submitted bid forms, and I think we all have copies of them. Some are more detailed than others, but some of the items, as I understand it, is we want to make sure that it has heat and air if we're going to be using this primarily for meter reading. And if you want to explain more about it, Mr. Morrison.
We're looking for is a street legal side-by-side. The current vehicle we're using to run errands is a Chevrolet Trailblazer. It's in pretty rough condition. It was Director Jones' vehicle for many years. It was bought from state surplus. We've had several issues with the transmission. It's broke down. We've had to tow it in the middle of work. We're having problems with the dash. The dash is going on and off and shutting down. It's having quite a few issues and costs us a lot of money. Felt like this would be a more economical way to operate and that we could use it for other tasks as well. But it would make a good trial for a meter reader vehicle. It's smaller. It's easier to get off the road. We don't have to run interstate to read meters, so we think this will be easier to get in and out of and do that. We wanted AC on it, so in the dead heat of summer, if they get overheated, they've got somewhere to get back in and cool off and try to recuperate. We did want heat on it so that we could use it throughout the winter without using the use of the vehicle. We did ask for an enclosed cab. This one, they have enclosed cabs with windshield wipers. They'll have lights, turn signals, as well as a flashing beacon, so this will be a tagged vehicle. Midstate Motorsports does not have defrost or AC, so we feel like that pulls them out of the bidding process, which leaves us with Tommy Motorsports and Tri-Green. Tommy's Motorsports is in Crossville, Tri-Green is in Cookeville. The Polaris Ranger with Tommy's Motorsports was bid at $20,972.58. That is a 3-seater with standard heat, defrost, and AC. Tri-Green had 2 options, one that had a 2-month delivery, one that was an immediate delivery. The one that's immediate delivery is already sitting on the showroom floor, and they can have it ready in just days. The only thing it needs is turn signals. It already has enclosed cab. It is a factory standard cab with glass windshields. Does have removable doors, hydraulic bed, and the other plus with Tri-Green versus Tommy's is Tri-Green's a local, so if we had to have warranty work, we just run it over to Cookeville and drop it off. It's not so big an issue. And then I think the other thing that was pointed out was the country of origin. On the John Deere is the USA. On the Polaris Ranger it is Mexico. So this would be an attempt to try to continue to purchase American-made items. So.
What's the difference between the two? The two. There's 2 line items here. One's $2,000 more. Why?
The 835M is a downgraded model. They have to add the cab and they have to custom order it to add it. The 835R comes pre-built with the cab and is already on the showroom floor ready to go.
What's your preference?
I prefer the immediate delivery. The way I can get rid of the Trailblazer and not continue to
Are you-
poke maintenance money at it right now.
Are you anticipating additional maintenance on the current?
Yeah, it's going to have problems.
I know you can't predict the future, but.
No, it's still having issues continually, so it's coming. So it's just a matter of when. So if I have to wait 2 months for delivery, you're going to take a chance that within that 2 months I'm going to spend $2,000 or more, or maybe less to repair it. Just depends on what happens to it.
Thank you.
And we do have money in capital outlay from Public Works, so we're in good shape. So we've got the money to cover it.
I make the motion, we go with the 835R at 23.5,
I'll second.
tri-green.
Okay. Try green. And the 23.5. Okay. You won't make a
I
motion
second.
and second it faster than I can write it down.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. This flat.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbray,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Number 13, consider approval of an agreement with Putnam County EMS for the use of the building at 137 East Main Street, Suite B.
Correct.
We did make that change. So, we do have an agreement, an interlocal agreement, which is a pretty standard item. But we do want to, or I'll let Mr. Morrison point out what we're to be responsible for and what the county would be responsible for. And that is next to our fire hall. If you're not familiar with it, there's ambulance bays there now. So the county is to assume maintenance and control of the building for the purpose of the emergency medical services substation. And then what we have, it outlines our responsibilities and the county's responsibilities. And I don't know if we need a change to that, or no. I guess I've just gotten $5,000 a year is what we're anticipating.
We're anticipating about $5,000 a year for gas, water, sewer, and electric. The county's asking the city to pay those utilities. They're going to be paying for the items that they need for internet, cable, phone, and providing a two-way radio. One of the conditions that the council asked for last night is in consideration. If we pay the gas bill, that the county limit the amount of time the bay doors are open to minimize heat loss when the heating unit is running. So we did add that as a county responsibility. We also asked that they not wash personal vehicles, not park in the grass. And we're going to maintain one bay that will have the original All Good LaFrance unit in it, as well as the storage above the offices. The county is going to maintain the generator and the structure and do any upkeep and updates they need to do, which includes making 2 sleeping bedrooms in the existing chief's office. They're going to do flooring, painting, some ceiling stuff, HVAC, hot water heater, plumbing, door access, electrical, kitchen and bathroom upgrades, and other upgrades as they deem necessary to keep the facility in good and usable condition.
Okay.
And they will not use the for any other purpose than emergency medical services, so there's nothing else they can do with it.
And they're gonna keep both, or 2 vehicles here?
Yes. Be 24 hours, 7 days a week. So 2 crews, one during the day, one during the night. There's an additional ambulance there. In the event one ambulance is out at shift change, second ambulance will be waiting, or if an ambulance breaks down, they have a second ambulance there that they can get in and go in if they have to.
Is that the arrangement now currently?
Currently, they have one ambulance, but they are running 24 hours. Once this agreement's signed, they're going to go in and make the sleeping bedrooms and go ahead and bring the second ambulance in.
Well, we're very fortunate that we have them here, I think. And I know that my family's had to avail them of their services, so I think it's a good thing for all good. And with that one notation being entered, that they will not have the doors open and waste, like my dad said, are you trying to heat the whole neighborhood? Or and I think we can just add that, can't we, Keith?
I've added it, so it's
okay.
ready.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agreement with Putnam County EMS.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Now, item 14 is to consider approval of an agreement with Tennessee Tech for the use of a portion of the Eads collection at the White Plains Historic Home. As all of us have, we have considered this agreement, and having read it at length, I feel it incumbent upon me to abstain from any voting participation in this agreement. I am currently potentially in litigation with the foundation and with the representatives from Tennessee Tech that are listed on the agreement. And so if this agreement is approved by the council, I would like to ask or suggest that rather than me signing the contract or the agreement, that the council make a motion to allow Mr. Morrison to sign it in my place. If we want to talk about the agreement first, okay, you want to go ahead with that?
Mr. and Miss Eade had a collection of items that they had collected and placed in a tobacco barn in Carthage that was to be the Eads collection and museum. Mr. Eade passed away. Miss Eade is not able to take care of this, so she donated it to Tennessee Tech and the foundation. There's many items down there that are old furniture, antique furniture, Empire era furniture. There's roving collections, African art, and different things. There are quilts and rugs. Many of these items have a lot of value, have a lot of antique value, and they fit well with the White Plains Historic Home, and they would make great pieces to decorate and showcase for the city, as well as there are glass showcases there that we could use to lock items up that we don't want to walk out the door. And we can work with the foundation on some roving exhibits that we can change in and out from time to time, so that there are new pieces there to view for people that come in. The value furniture that we've looked at so far is somewhere around $185,000. So this is very valuable furniture that has a lot of antique value and just exceptional pieces and good timing to go in the house. So they will allow us to decorate the house with some really nice pieces and offer a good partnership with Tennessee Tech on this. The only thing we have to do is make sure the pieces are taken care of and that we provide proof of insurance covering the retail value of the items.
And I think at the work session, we generally estimated that'd be an additional, $500 maybe to cover the
Probably
items?
about $500 a year for the insurance coverage through public entity partners.
So I think everybody's had a chance to look at it or whatever. And so do you want to go ahead and enter into this agreement with the Tennessee Tech Foundation? I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion to enter the agreement.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Blatt?
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes,
That was with a motion that I sign it.
correct.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. City Administrator, do you have a report for us?
We need to add ordinance 640-19, amending the all goods zoning code to add permits and rules for short-term rental properties. Those short-term rental properties will not be allowed in R1 and R2 and have permitting and requirements that they go through fire inspection each year and that they meet all the codes of the city of Allgood. This did come from Planning Commission with a positive recommendation.
Thank you, I had left that one off. These are types of things we're trying to regulate are like VRBO, Airbnb, those type of things and that we need to address because they are becoming more popular and we just want to make sure that they're run in a way that is the best for our city and that they meet all permitting requirements. Is there any discussion that anybody wants or questions to ask regarding this?
This language is similar to what Cookville's doing.
It is. It was adjusted to meet our zoning zones. It's adding these rental property guidelines to R3, RD, CA, and CB is the zones that this would be allowed in. It's adding a permit process and making sure that they're properly inspected and that we're keeping up with those and that they continue to permit them and collect taxes and things of that nature on them.
Any more questions, comments? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 614-19 regarding short-term rentals.
I second.
Ms. Blatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Now we're to, I think you've almost given a report tonight, it feels
I think so.
like.
The only thing I haven't talked about is we did lease the old PD building, so that building has been leased to Ray Builders and Construction. They're going to run a construction office as well as an antique sales shop out of it and upfit it, and we've signed that lease, and so they're ready to go. Department heads, did you have anything?
Okay. We will now hear any citizen or delegation. If anyone wants to tell us anything or ask anything, now's the time. Just please come up to the podium and tell us your name. Okay. Not having any citizen concerns, I make a motion that we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. So let it be done. So let it be written. So let it be done.